It's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself. Show 'em what you got. Number one, it's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself and show 'em what you got. Number one, it's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself. Show 'em what you got. Number one, it's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself and show 'em what you got. Number one.
Welcome to Educators for Life, a winning world show with Shermanda. Coming to inspire, motivate, encourage, to shed light, and bring hope. We will share testimonies and share stories of people from around the world who have chosen to live triumphant lives on purpose, overcoming adversities. And now, a winning world show with Shermanda.
Gotta prove yourself and show 'em what you got. Number one.
Great day, beloveds. How are you this morning? This is Shermanda, your host and founder of A Winning World. I want to welcome you with love, hugs, and yes, fellowship, agape-filled kisses. We will love together. We will cry together. We will sing together. We will laugh together, lifting each other up and celebrating each other's wins and victories. This show has been created to focus on total life health transformation in mind, spirit, body, and soul, allowing the voices of overcomers to sound aloud their victories through every test. We overcome by the word of our testimonies and shining the light of hope to see we all have purpose to fulfill on this earth, and victory in life living is the plan. I have so much joy daily, even through the trials and tribulations that may come, because there is vision within me, and I hold fast to the scripture. A joyful heart is good like a medicine, for my healing is within me and within the Father, within our divine God. I've been blessed and favored to meet people from around the globe, and now we are connecting to bring forth an anthology where people with stories of overcoming and success in life living are submitting stories to me for the book. Today's guests are a part of the A Winning World movement and are filled with so much joy that they've created a movement around the best medicine there is, and that is laughter. Welcome, Bob and Sophie.
Thank you very much, Shermanda.
Yes.
And you have an amazing story yourself, and you're now creating this movement as well. So I know that I am very, very happy to have connected with you and happy to have met you through my partner with the program that we have. And I'm going to have her talk a little bit more about it, and that's Sophie.
And before Sophie, I want Sophie to say hello. But before you go into that, I want you both to tell a little bit about yourselves first. But Sophie, come on, let us hear your beautiful voice.
Well, I have to say that it's such an honor connecting with your beautiful light and all that you are doing and changing in many people's hearts and lives. And it has been, not the easiest for me to really, connect with somebody instantly within minutes over a phone call. But your light, your vibration just vibrates so high and deep to people's soul because of who you are and your authentic, genuine love to this world. And truly we are very grateful to have connected. And I love what you're doing and for the It's a Winning World, because even myself, talking to some people who got so amazing stories that you have given a voice to, truly making a difference and passing it forward to those who need to know more into their journey and about what they could do next because of that. So we're all also blessed to have you, Shermanda. Thank you for having us also on this show.
Thank you. I am blessed to have you all. And you know how they say, birds, my mom always said, birds of a feather flock together. So we're just finding our tribe and those that we're to fly with.
Totally agree.
So we're just family uniting, and God is just bringing us all together into a place where we can share our lives and share our love. And of course, with you all with the laughter mindset. I mean, we're sharing much laughter as well. And I'm looking forward to getting into that. But I want to, if both of you could take, just a couple minutes to say, who is Bob? Who is Sophie?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, just in a nutshell, Bob has been a lifelong martial artist. He spent 8 years in the Marines, 5 years LAPD, many moons ago. I think you probably were just a wee little child back in the day, and those days were much different than my days now. So since those days, I've become an entrepreneur, and having gone back to school to get my master's and eventually my PhDs in various psychologies and also studies in neuroscience, because I really wanted just to expand in terms of my knowledge and everything, and really understanding the human spirit, and the human soul, and the human being. That way, I can be the best person that I can possibly be to help them, and just continuing to expand that. So, in a nutshell, that's pretty much where I'm at now.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Sophie?
Yes, I'm an NLP practitioner and EFT, TFT as well, laughter yoga instructor certified, and emotional, social, and intelligent coach, and a life coach. And I have connected to all of my inner gifts and learned how to be in service of them through different, teachings and learnings, and it became part of who I am at this time. And myself and Bob have connected through a coaching program that he had for peak performance, and we developed a program called the Laughter Mindset from there, which was, how you got to know us.
Yes. And I'm loving being a part of the Laughter Mindset family. and we're building up to that point. So can you tell us where you're from? Bob, where are you living at this time? Where are you from?
Well, I'm all the way across on the West Coast in Los Angeles, and it's now 6:21 a.m. in the morning.
Aww.
Our early riser.
Yeah, early riser. Thank you so much for rising early for us. But they say the early bird catches the worm, so you're catching the worm this morning.
I've been catching a worm every morning, and the ironic thing is that during my stays there on the East Coast, I still get up early.
Yes.
So I had not adjusted. So even though there's a 3-hour time difference, my body automatically adjusts to it, and I think every time I see just even a light peeking out, it wakes me up just like that. So it's just I think that's stemming from my days as an entrepreneur. It's stemming from my days, especially when I was in the Marine Corps. You get used to that after a number of years.
Well, we salute you and thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Shamanda.
Yes, we really do.
Which is much different than back in those days. When you go back 40, 50 years ago, the time period was much different. And, veterans just didn't get respect as they do now. So, big shift in terms of mindset, and that's what the Laughter Mindset itself does. It helps people to shift their state. And I'm glad that Sophie really was the one that was instrumental in coming up with that slogan. And so I have to praise her for her creativity on that.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bob is trying to take us to the mindset, but let's find out where Sophie is from first.
I'm originally, I was born in Amman, Jordan. I'm from the Middle East, River Jordan, where Jesus was baptized.
Yes.
All the way from there.
I told you he was connecting us.
That's right. That is so right. And we had caught a laughter virus
Yes,
during
we
a
have.
coaching call.
Now, Sophie, let me ask you, what brought you over from Jordan?
Well, my family, I originally did not come straight from Jordan here. I lived in Cyprus, I lived in Oman by Dubai, I lived in Morocco, and I came here. I've been here for 21 years at this point. My older sister studied in D.C., so did my older brother, and then, my dad bought a house, and so we had lots of visits to the U.S. As a child growing up. I came here almost every summer, you see, and at one point, years ago, when I lived in Morocco, my son's father was transferred to Saudi Arabia, and there it was a little bit different of a lifestyle for raising my child. And, so the choice was to come here to the United States. And since then, I've been here.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad you made it here because now we know each other.
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to the next place, because I know a lot of your stories, but we want our audience to know who you are. And I want to know if you could share some of your influencers and why, are they your influencers?
Well,
Go ahead,
let me
Bob.
go ahead and start with myself. So my very first influencer was my mom. She was, and ironically, she was also my first martial arts teacher from when I was a toddler, putting a stick in my hand and teaching me kendo. She was the one that really pushed me into developing more the warrior mindset and believing in me and everything like that. It wasn't my father. My father was just the opposite. He was, and I would say he influenced me in some ways through the physical abuse that I had at his hands, both physical and verbal abuse. And back in those days, I mean, I was beaten. My first broken nose was from him, and when I was a young child. And my mom did what she could, but she couldn't leave him because I'm half Japanese. My mom came from Japan, and back in those days, had she left him because we were here in the United States, she would have had gone back to Japan and left me with him. So that wouldn't have been good. So she did what she could. And my second influencer was a school teacher when I went to junior high in Savannah, Georgia. And Mr. Tower wasn't, in essence, what he said, but it was his actions that he did. And he had this dream, and I'm going to get a little bit into it. But what he did, we were all watching him. Get early in the morning, we'd come in, and he was running and training and doing a lot of physical exercise in the morning. In the afternoons, he was out playing with the local baseball team, practicing back and forth. And this was a high school team, and he was just getting better and better and better. And we thought that was kind of strange. Here he was training in the morning and training in the late afternoon after classes were over. And then he came in one day and he said, "You may have noticed I've been training in the mornings and in the late afternoons." And we all said, "Yes, we want to know what's going on." He said, "Well, this is my last year teaching." And we had not known that. And he said, "The reason I did all this and the reason I'm leaving is because I tried out for the Atlanta Braves baseball team and I made it." That was his dream. That was his dream. And that showed me that no matter where you're at in life, you can still go after your dream if you have that belief in yourself. You can defy age. You can defy a lot of stuff if you simply put the effort into it and a belief into it and just go and do it. So in my case, I followed that. I listened to him. When I went in the Marines, I wanted to be the best of the best. I ended up with Force Recon and Marine Corps. And beyond that, for everything I went after, I remembered what Mr. Tower did. I remember his words at that time for himself, what his dream and everything. So his actions fed me. I would say those two, and there's been many other people. I would say my mom initially. Then I also had my martial arts teacher when I lived in Okinawa, Japan, as a child. Had some influence on me. But I would say my mother and Mr. Tower had probably the greatest influences on me in terms of me going out and believing in myself and doing what it took to create the dreams of my life.
And what are some of those? What are some of those dreams, Bob?
Yeah. So I think my biggest one is what I'm living right now, and that is being able to really, really help people. So as a child, I always wanted to be Superman, and I think everybody did. I remember watching George Reeves portraying Superman in the old series that was very popular back in the 50s. And as a child, I tried to do some of the stuff that Superman would do. So I remember him running and jumping and flying in the air. So I tried that, and it didn't work. And then I remember I climbed up on the table and tried to jump off, thinking if I got a little higher, that I could fly. And it didn't work. So I wanted to climb up on the roof of the house and do the same thing. and it wasn't. I was watching an old Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs Bunny was a superhero. The bugs ate these supercharged carrots, which gave his powers. So he was like the superhero flying around helping people and beating up the bad guys and everything until he lost all his carrots and he lost all his power. And the bad guys actually grabbed the carrots and became super bad guys, and they were about to attack Bugs. And Bugs put his hand up, says, "I'm going to become a real hero." Next thing you see Bugs marching out in Marine Corps dress blues. And I said, aha, that must be one of the secrets. And that really embedded in me years later when I ended up joining the Marines. And I knew that, I wasn't really a superhero or hero or anything like that. It was my job, but it was something that stuck with me. So me really being able to help people in the best way that I can, that was instilled by my mother, doing what I do. And I think in almost everything I've done throughout my life, whether it was teaching women self-defense back in the 80s, being a bodyguard, any way that I can help somebody. And I learned that a superhero is limited. You've heard the analogy, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, right? And that's where I was. I was being that person that was giving that fish by trying to save him and stuff like that. And I learned when I started teaching women self-defense is that if you teach a man how to fish, you feed him for life. And that's what I was doing. I was teaching others how to fish, how to protect themselves in a sense. But then I realized, there's more to this. I'm still limited when I'm teaching them how to fish. What if I teach others how to teach others how to fish? Then I can feed the whole world. And that's where I'm at now. And that's where the laughter mindset. So while me and Sophie are teaching, we're going to get more into that. My thing is now if I teach others the knowledge and the skills and everything I've learned and teach them how to teach the same thing and through their own experiences as well, then we can affect the whole world. And that's my dream right there. That's my dream.
And you're living it well in this winning world. So I can relate to the superheroes. I've been several of them in my own mind and in my own way. I was Evel Knievel at one point. My dad built homes, had his own construction company, and I would take the plywood and bricks and stuff. And I literally had friends that would lay down in front of the plywood, and I would drive the bike over them. But when it was time for me to lay down and it was their time, I would tell them, well, no, I've got to watch everything. So I never laid down.
Oh my God! My gosh!
And I got to meet him when I traveled with people.
Oh, nice!
Yes, and he gave us art of a lot of souvenirs and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. But I ended up meeting him when I traveled, with the group all those years ago. So
See, You got to meet the person that you wanted to be. I never got to meet Superman.
Well, he's within you.
You are Superman.
Wow.
Yes. He looks, the Superman lives within us. Greater is he that is in us than he that is in this world. So we have all power, dominion, and authority. We just have to claim it, know it, believe it, and just walk it out.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Just like you have even Knievel in you, too.
Yes. Well, I thank God none of the broken bones. Because, he broke every bone in his body.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
he did.
Well, let's bring in Sophie. Tell us some of your influencers and how you've come to the place of winning in your world.
Coming from, my background and all the different countries I lived at, and I must say that, my parents were just amazing role models to me as I was growing up. And my dad at 78, he just published his fourth book. In the last 3 years, he published 2, right? But he's originally, an attorney, and but he's just been a person who has helped many, many, many people. I grew up seeing my mom doing the same thing. She's never really worked an official job, but my Lord, at her funeral when she passed away, the stories that I was hearing, I'm like, how did this lady do all this? And she had 4 kids, and she was involved in all of our lives. And, seeing her on her deathbed like a lioness, she died with colon cancer. And I remember 2 days before she passed away, she was waving, and my younger brother and I were holding her hands. It was at night at that time in the hospital. So my younger brother thought that, she was saying goodbye, and he started bawling. And my mom, with her voice on all this painkillers and everything, she gets her finger and just tries to wipe his tears, and she says, "Do not cry. God is most merciful." And I'm thinking, with all the pain she's dealing with in her own body, this lady 2 rooms down tried to commit suicide twice. And she's still standing strong, trying to calm us down, concerned about us, worrying about her. And, she said she had such a good life. It's just amazing how you learn from other people's pain and suffering, and then, of course, of your own. And, it has really, my family, and always, including the times that were challenging to my own acceptance because of the culture. And, everybody does things out of maybe a positive intentional love, but we all have our own journey and our own calling and our own service. And sometimes when a person goes on a different path than what other people are familiar with, they become either outcasted or pointed out as, they're not, they don't fit in or so. But, when you truly stand and stand your own truth and speak your voice, and sometimes it is not as easy because you're not as accepted in the beginning. So when people don't understand, why you're doing that, you are out of their familiar knowing. And it really allows the person to have 2 choices, either to be a victim or a victor over their circumstances. And I remember, going to, and thank you, Sharmanda, by the way, for allowing me to have a voice in your book. I mean, I have a book coming of my own called Emotional Healing That Lasts, and hopefully by the first quarter of next year, it would be coming out. However, I have discovered an emotion as I was writing into the chapter of your book that I haven't known all this time. And literally, the release that happened instantly was magical, because I always felt that emotion that I was feeling was pain. And then it came to me that emotion was called abandonment. And I just had this moment of, wow, I learned what that emotion meant to so many people, being a coach and an LP practitioner. And when they talked behind the table, and as I was relating to them, I always was able to help transform to a different state. However, I finally understood it to its depth, not knowing as clear that when I healed, totally understood what that really meant as I was writing. So I encourage people to write, because as much as you speak, there's something powerful when you're able to transfer your emotion and express them in words, and it allows you more clarity and depth of your own soul.
Yes.
And knowing and you retrieve information and they're revealed to you, where all the answers are within. When we're in stillness, we receive even more. Yeah. So I feel that, a part of many great, people, like in my journey, and they always say when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
It's true.
At my 20s, I remember like Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, Hay House Radio was a big influencer. I read many people's books and listened to many YouTubes. And I cannot tell you enough that when I was going through emotional heaviness, that I was able to shift a lot of times when I wasn't able to register to a class or, talk to and mentor or pay a coach or something, that those things really help. Like, don't just sit and do nothing. Yes. Regardless what you belong to, whether it's a spiritual teacher, a church, a mosque, anything that you resonate, that help you grow and that connect you to who you are.
Who you are, yes.
To understand what's happening.
So
you can grow from it. It was always a great influencer, and it helped me a lot in my journey.
And that is so powerful, Sophie. I've been notified that our time is actually up. So what I'm going to do is bring you all back so that we can actually go into the transformational, the laughter mindset, that is, into your company. So we're going to close out now. And I want to thank you all for joining me. Oh, my goodness, such powerful stories of living triumphant lives on purpose. You've chosen to live these lives, and I just want to thank you. And we will be connecting again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone that has joined to listening in on A Winning World with Shermanda. Thank you.
Thanks for joining A Winning World with Shermanda. Do you have a story or testimony and would like to be considered for an interview on the show? Connect on Facebook at A Winning World or Educators for Life, or visit Shermanda.com. Telephone 904-533-5222 or email connect@educators4life.com. Tune in next week for more winning stories on A Winning World with Shermanda.
Number one.